Yeah, Guapo, ha, Guapo, huh, Guapo, MoBlock, Guapo, Guapo, Guap, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, talk shit, get your head popped, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, talk shit, get your head popped, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, talk shit, get your head popped. MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block, MoBlock or no block.
Hello everyone, it's your boy Liam here, with another edition of the MoBlock Power Ratings. The season is in the fourth quarter, and we are getting some clearance on the playoff teams versus the non-playoff teams. There are still a couple spots up for grabs, but I feel pretty confident on picking who I think will make the playoffs versus who I don't think will make it. However, no one has been mathematically eliminated yet, and like I've been saying for the last few weeks, what you've done to this point doesn't mean shit. Well, unless you're at the bottom. But still, it's all about what you do going forward. Remaining at number 12 and still the number one contender to wear the cheerleader costume, we have Juan. Even though you aren't mathematically eliminated from playoff contention, at 8 losses, life is looking a little bleak right now. I don't know what is more agonizing to deal with. Walking into every Sunday with no receivers, or dreading the fact of possibly having to wear the cheerleader costume. Ridley has been officially ruled out for the season, and Metcalf has been flat-out garbage this last month. I'll also break the news to you that Cooper Kupp isn't going to save your receiver room either. Even though Etienne has been solid the last few games, the emergence of Paisel Tutin should be concerning. The commissioner filled me in on this failed attempt to trade Lamar, and I got to be honest, I'm proud of you for trying. That's bold, and it's smart to try and divide your assets, but to only acquire back Stephon Diggs, who's preoccupied with Cardi B. I think your negotiation tactics need to improve, my friend. Remaining at number 11, we have Cristiano Garcia. Just as I was possibly excited to see you make a playoff push, you completely lay an egg versus Zay. I know the Cowboys' defense has improved, but for Ashton Jeanty to only have 7 yards on 6 carries might be the most embarrassing stat line from the entire week. I remember saying a few weeks ago that we can draw up him and Brian Thomas as busts, and they are no longer players to rely on, as they will only sink your squad. Your new core of blue-chip players are Adams, Egbuka, and even Trey Benson. But the problem is they're all coming off of injuries. You're going to have to win out the rest of the way, and something is going to have to bounce your way, whether it's Woody Marks delivering explosive outputs or some other teams collapsing. Coming in at number 10, down 2 spots from last week, we have Dashone. 5 losses in a row, and what makes it even more concerning is you're just so lady-da-di-da like it doesn't matter. I've already beaten around the bush about how I don't think winning is important to you, but I will flat out say it this time. Winning ain't important to you. Despite some injuries to your receivers and both tight ends over the last few weeks, you've also yet to spend $1 on waivers. This isn't a guillotine league, so I don't understand what's the point of holding on to F. Abby at this point. If I'm being honest, I already see you as a non-playoff team, and I think Markel will verify that for me this week. Coming in at number 9, up 1 spot from last week, we have Roland. You finally got back on track after beating Dashone, and credit to Bryce Young, of all quarterbacks, for flourishing. I guess it was smart to keep more quarterbacks than an NFL roster after all. However, I still have little faith in your team, and you're another team who has failed massively on waivers. And come this time of the year, you're going to suffer. Now you're at the point where you're just throwing darts at the dartboard, and you picked up 2 guys that aren't even real football players. I didn't even know that prima donna receiver still existed. I thought he'd be busy burying his head in some girl's ass in Miami. And Shadur might have had the worst debut of all time last week. It's pretty obvious why the coaches in Cleveland didn't want to start him. Seeing him sit on the bench continuously after the game already concluded like he lost the Super Bowl was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen a quarterback do. Maybe even more ridiculous than when Caleb Williams laid down on the bench last year. The bottom line in this case is you picking up those players thinking they can actually make a contribution to your team. Tells me all I need to know. Coming in at number 8, up 1 spot from last week, we have Mencho. Hopefully I don't have to hear you whine this week after I graciously moved you up despite losing, but after some of the hideous actions I've seen from Dashone and Roland, I'd take your team over them at this point. Now the big issue for you this week is your team is severely handicapped. You can thank the schedule makers for pairing you up against the worst team this week, but even against Juan, This might be a challenge. Jamar Chase losing self-control cost you, and Ladd being on bye is going to be annoying. Henderson has been a high scorer for you the last couple weeks, but with Stevenson back, I'd expect his numbers to come back down to earth. I don't think you made the right move picking up Mooney either. Have you seen him play this year? Remaining at number 7, we have Markel. Nice job getting right against the commissioner this week. If you stay the course, you'll be a playoff team. If Lamar got sent over to your team, I think you'd be getting fit for a ring. But the other pieces around, including McBride and Jacobs, make your team a serious threat weekly. Your team has had some nagging health issues, so hopefully that doesn't evolve or linger. Another small concern that I mentioned last week, and I'll mention again, is the lack of connection between McCarthy and Jefferson. Despite the great Justin McGritty Jefferson's prowess, I just don't think you can expect 20-point games from him anymore. Coming in at number 6, down 1 spot from last week, we have Emmett aka Showtime. I'm going to be sitting here till I'm blue in the face telling you, you're great at getting horses, you clearly have an eye for talent. But when it comes to lining them up properly and making sure you're starting and benching and cutting the right ones, you blunder in every which way. You basically just threw out the week last week to Markel, and he cruised to victory. If you kept Sean Tucker and played him over Harvey or Vidal and picked up a defense, you would have cruised to victory. If you were as good as lining up the horses as you were acquiring the horses, you would be the number 1 seed. That's honestly sad. And I'll tell you what, man, and I'll say the shit to your face, you can literally fuck yourself out of the playoffs. Yeah, you've had injuries which suck and all, but I think you getting in your own way is the bigger plague. This is your bowl game this week versus Pape, so I expect your best stuff. Coming in at number 5, up 1 spot from last week, we have Zay. As much as I sit here every week and say Jonathan Taylor is carrying you, which he is, I think the biggest improvement to your team has been seeing the resurgence of Jameson Williams. Him scoring in 3 consecutive weeks has been just as huge of a boost to your team as anyone else, and it allows me to prevent myself from saying your receivers suck. Jennings has been decent as well, so I'll tell you what, if those guys can keep it up, you can definitely move up and make some serious noise. Remaining at number 4, we have Vontae. I'll give you props on your performance last week, even though it was mainly your big names like Allen, Pickens, and Kittle having career days to where it doesn't even matter what the other guys on your team do. Call me a hater, but I just don't see that being a consistent thing for you to keep up. So, go out this week against Zay and prove me wrong. Remaining at number 3, we have Raquan. All right. You finally took down the number 1 seed, so good job. But guess what? It's time to do that shit again. You're going to be down Drake London this week, and you're putting a lot of pressure on yourself running your mouth to Jamar, so I'll just sit my ass back and see what happens, playboy. You can't do no wrong. Coming in at number 2, down 1 spot from last week, we have this ugly motherfucker Pape. I got offered a bonus this week that I simply couldn't refuse, so it is what it is. Anyway, 2 losses in a row, and I'm starting to get a little concerned about your team for the first time all year. The receiver room is problematic as Pearsall came back and didn't do shit, and DJ Moore and Sutton are complete liabilities in your lineup. I know you have the great Rashee Rice, but you gotta have at least 2 guys. Then I think we can cancel out all Browns and maybe even Falcons players with the recent shakeups to their offenses. Aside from Drake London, I wouldn't want anyone on that team, and the commissioner told me you've been making calls around the league trying to deal Bijan, so I'll assume that you agree with me on that. You're still a playoff team, but this isn't the time to have the arrow going down, so let's see if you can take care of business against the commissioner and get back on track. And coming in at number 1 up 1 spot from last week, we have Jamar. You finally made it to the mountaintop, but now it's a matter of, can you stay here? Nice job bouncing back last week against Mencho, but Raquan has made it known that he thinks you can't bang with him. Are you going to let him talk to you like that and let his promises come true? Or are you going to make sure he's tossing and turning in his bed Sunday night when he realizes you beat him? There you have it, guys. I am looking forward to seeing how everything plays out, and I will be back on November 26th with the Thanksgiving edition of the MoBlock Power Ratings. Good luck, everyone.